Yep.
All right, guys, back on Southeastern 16 with Max Barr, SEC Basketball Reaction Primetime Edition,
Prime time.
where we run through everything from the day's action in SEC basketball. As you know, we've already covered the Auburn win at Alabama and Missouri's victory at Georgia in another stream. We did our Auburn-Alabama watch-along, and we'll talk about everything else from the day. Plus, we'll obviously touch on those games again as well here in the prime time. And, we'll talk a lot about that. So I know everyone is thrilled with multiple things when it comes to either refereeing or injury situations and all that. And, I think kind of where things have settled now, Max, and I'll quickly do this because I think it's kind of interesting. When you do look at sort of the SEC standings, obviously Auburn is 1. Alabama's sitting there at 10-2. Florida and A&M now at 9-3. Missouri's there at 8-4. And then you got Tennessee and Ole Miss at 8-5. But then you've kind of got a little bit of a split there, don't we? Now that Kentucky drops to 6-6. State is 6-6. We'll talk about that game. Vanderbilt 5-7. Texas moves to 5-8. Arkansas 4-8. Georgia 4-9. Oklahoma 3-9. LSU 2-10. South Carolina 0-12. So I think you've got to kind of see what that middle of the pack, and I think that's what's going to be interesting the rest of the way as we see how those teams navigate it. But we'll jump right into Kentucky, Texas. I know that's what a lot of people are jumping in for. Daniel, I'm going to get back to your comment, too, about how many teams the SEC get in. I think there's been a really kind of misleading expectation of the SEC getting a certain number in when I think it's always been another number that has been pretty clear. All right. Initial thoughts, Max. Kentucky, Texas. Texas gets the win 82-78. As we said, the story going into this was you didn't have your top 3 point guards if you were Kentucky, so you're playing without that. And meanwhile, we knew Texas kind of had their own, have had their own issues injury-wise too this season. But the Cats, I think his mother Carol brought it up, or was it at earlier? Cats had a stretch where they didn't score for a while, and anytime you're on the road in the SEC and that happens, that's a struggle. And boy, by the way, too, that final possession there where they're trying to foul and they can't even get a foul down 5 with whatever many seconds left. That was not ideal either. So,
yep. Zach's continuing his streak. It might be the longest streak in the nation at this point. Some are saying. The Triple T's under Coach T. Tough 2 Texas. You already know. Such a fan of watching this team. Second favorite team for Zach. Likes watching. I mean, how can you not like watching Trey Johnson? We're only going to get a few more games out of him in college. Just incredible individual performance. He's one of the few guys in this league that it just does not matter who his teammates are sometimes. Just give him the ball, taking over. Doesn't matter if there's a hand in his face. If he has to get 2 offensive rebounds and then try to put back and one with his offhand like he did there at the end against Williams. He keeps getting better too. Special stuff. The thing is though, Posse brings this up too. Almost got an SEC road win with our 4th string behind Lamont Butler and Kirk Kriisa, our 2 normal point guards. Jackson Robinson, our emergency point guard. Then we got to go to the freshman TP. Actually kind of encouraging. I was thinking that during the game. And we got a kind of a negative comment. I'm not going to pull it up towards the Longhorns, but I'm thinking during the game, man, Texas at home. One of my best friends was at the Moody Center. He's sending me videos. This place looks like a madhouse. Looks insane. You're catching a team down 3 point guards. You're in desperation mode. You need a win. And it was like pulling teeth trying to get that win. It's a win that Texas needed, but do I feel great about the Longhorns moving forward? Do I feel more confident about the Longhorns moving forward? I don't know.
Well, that's the thing, right? As we play musical chairs with who's going to get in and who's not of those bubble teams we've been talking about, the difference between Texas and everyone else today is that they got to win, right? No matter what the scenario, they got the win. Vanderbilt lost, Arkansas lost, Georgia lost, Oklahoma lost, right? So I think if you're Texas, as you said, I'm maybe not coming out of this feeling like Texas is a team that can make the Sweet 16, but at least they probably take a bigger step forward towards the tournament than a lot of other teams today. And I think, again, and yes, we know the situation with Kentucky, but I still kind of look at it in that scenario, right? Where you're probably still looking at a situation where this is going to be a team that winds up maybe in that, at best, maybe 9 seed type range, probably by the end of the season. But I think that's kind of where we are. So, yeah, I mean,
Okay. This is kind of interesting. It's funny. Nicholas is not happy with the performance. Didn't like that second half from the Cats. Are the Wildcats just trying to add people to the NCAA tournament? I mean, think about this. The gift that keeps on giving here. Kentucky has all these insanely big wins. We've gone over them a million times. But just in the past, 2 weeks, they've lost to Vanderbilt, Arkansas, and now Texas. All the 3 of those teams are like locked into that like 16-team bubble right now. And all of them have gained a big quad 1 win by beating Kentucky. Maybe Kentucky just says, hey, guys, we got our big wins. We want to set historic marks this year with the SEC. We want to get everybody in. I'm just joking. But, Nicholas, that's a funny point you bring up.
Yeah, I mean, it is. I mean, like I said, I think Texas takes a big step forward after this, but I agree with you. I don't think I come out of this necessarily just completely thrilled at their spot, but like we said, they have been a team that's been stingy at home this season. And really the Alabama game was kind of the only one that sort of threw us for a loop a little bit, right? Because Alabama came in, won by 23. But, I mean, I think when you look at it from this standpoint now, if you're Texas moving forward, and we'll talk about the Kentucky side of this here, of course, but Texas gets the week off. They go to South Carolina next Saturday. So, that's one of those games, because you're a bubble team, you got to win that one. And then they go to Arkansas the following Wednesday for the rematch with the Hogs. Finish with Georgia at home, at Mississippi State, home against Oklahoma. Texas has one of the best schedules, if not the best schedule, of anyone left in the SEC. So, I think that's kind of, after a win like this, knowing you probably have, and again, we're not going to use the word favorable because I don't know that there is a favorable schedule necessarily. But I say that, Max, it is kind of a little more defined now, though, isn't it? Because if you get South Carolina, if you get LSU, even in Oklahoma, like it or not, they're kind of in that category too.
Yep.
Now that they just lost a home game to LSU, which we'll quickly touch on. But, I mean, yeah, so I think if you're looking at it from Texas' standpoint, this was potentially your sort of season-defining win here, no matter what the situation was for Kentucky on the other side, just because, your resume all of a sudden looks a lot better, and now you have a schedule that probably looks a bit better than everyone else's the rest of the way.
Yeah, and the magic number's 8. They can easily get there. Plenty of opportunities. Might even, I would say 8, just because they had one of the weaker non-conferences in terms of top-tier wins. But the path is there. The opportunities are there. They're the biggest underdog they're going to be the rest of the year is maybe a 6 or 7 point underdog in Starkville. Everything else is going to be right there for the taking. Texas just put themselves in a really good spot.
All right. So I know there's a lot of Kentucky fans, and there are probably way more Kentucky fans than Texas fans. So we're going to talk about Kentucky coming out of this. If you look at the Cats' upcoming schedule here, we've kind of talked about their path the rest of the way. They get the home rematch against Vanderbilt on Wednesday. They're at Alabama next Saturday. They're at Oklahoma the following Wednesday, which, of course, is, I think, a very winnable game. Home against Auburn, big one on March 1st, and then they host LSU at Missouri. So, I mean, I think if you're looking at it for Kentucky, we can look at this schedule all we want to, but without knowing who's playing, I just think that we don't. How can we properly even make a guess as to what their final record's going to be? They're 6-6 now in the SEC. And again, we're not talking in danger of missing the tournament or anything like that, but if we're just looking at how this thing plays out, right, for Kentucky the rest of the way, I think it's so hard to even estimate what that looks like just because you don't know with Butler, like I said, Robinson out, like Creasa, we talked, so it's so hard. So.
Yeah, and DS brings up a good point. Amari should have gotten more looks in the paint.
Yeah,
I thought
a game like this. Yeah.
We were talking about that beforehand, how it needed to be a big Amari game. We were talking about it in our in our Auburn, Alabama watch along, we're talking about Amari Williams, knowing how much of a game he's got to have. And there was a stretch there. I forget when it was, but Kentucky had the lead. Amari Williams comes out, and I'm a big Brandon Garrison fan. Blake knows I've been talking about kind of the projection of Brandon Garrison next year. I'm liking it, but the difference was big today when there was no Amari Williams on the court compared to when he was. Big difference. You could really feel it.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Let me pull up the. For some reason, I can't get the box score to load.
I couldn't either. They don't have it.
It's not working. No, it's not. It's
it.
not pulling up. So that's a very strange thing. You don't always see, but yeah, it's just completely wiped, like blank. Yeah. It's a blank box score. So we'll get that as soon as we can. Everything there, but let's quickly talk about some quick super chats here. Quinn, back to back, 99.99 super chats. Now, Quinn, you know our rule here. Okay, we're going to acknowledge the super chats, and we're going to acknowledge your Auburn Tigers as we did earlier. But due to the final sentence on both of those, we are going to leave those off the screen, but we're acknowledging your support and your displeasure with the Alabama Crimson Tide. But we appreciate
Quinn
you.
Says, to heck with the Tide.
That's what he said. He said, to heck with the Tide. That's it. So,
appreciate you, Quinn, though. Thank you very much.
There you go. Maybe it's the Kentucky intern not wanting anyone to see the box score. Yeah, that may be it. Sorry, not working. But yeah. By the way, Barry's over here. You can hear it. Barry's got a snore going. I mean, he is snoring loud. Like he's like, these games run late in the SEC. These are long games with all these fouls and reviews and all that. He's settled in here. I hate to tell him, unfortunately, Max, there is a huge line of bad storms rolling through here that are probably going to actually roll through in about 10 minutes. So for some reason, really? Max, my power goes out, something like that. We might have to call on Sam Smith for relief duty to join you.
I'll go solo. I'll go all night.
Oh, did you hear that, Sam? Shout out to John, $20 super chat. We appreciate you, John. Tennessee can't beat Kentucky and need almost a miraculous comeback against Vanderbilt. Tennessee doesn't deserve a 1 seed. Be lucky to make it to the Sweet 16. Okay.
Tennessee is a head-scratching team. They are head-scratching.
They are tough. They're tough.
A very matchup-based team.
Yeah. I guess here, let's ask this on the way. We always do this sometimes with these opening games. Kentucky and Texas fans, if we do have any Texas fans in here. I know there's not many, but Kentucky fans, give us your number on a scale of 1 to 10. Give us your level of concern for this team moving forward. I feel like we do this every week, but
yep.
Give us your concern in the chat. Give us 1 to 10. What's your level of concern here with the Cats moving forward? I mean, injuries, I'd say probably a 9 or 10 maybe, just because that's obviously going to matter. So, anyways.
Well, also, it's so confusing. Like, you have the big home game against Tennessee, so Butler gets up, plays 22 minutes, 4 assists, no turnovers, 3 steals, just changes the game. And then he doesn't play in the road game at Texas. I mean, you still need to win that one. It's not like it's just a game you can take off. So his injury is just, I've given up trying to predict if Lamont Butler's going to play or not. I've given up.
All right. Well, we'll obviously talk about that moving forward. Yeah, we'll get to that as well. As we always do, there are seemingly some first-time people, as usual, jumping in on a Saturday night.
Nice.
How it works here is that we talk about every game from the day that we haven't already talked about. And if you've not heard your team talked about, we will get to your team. I promise. So that is how it works here on the Saturday night primetime reaction show. And we will get to some other fun stuff here shortly. I mean, some people just brought it up in the chat. I mean, we're not going to probably spend a lot of time on this, but let's just quickly address it since back-to-back comments here on this Oklahoma LSU game. Because we talked about Oklahoma being another team, just like Texas, that was on the bubble, right? And that was about, I mean, I can't think of a sort of worst case scenario in terms of like how this game plays out for Oklahoma, where they're up 13 in the second half. LSU, think about this, Max. I want you to think about this number. LSU had 33 points with 14 minutes left in the second half. They finished with 82.
That is disastrous.
I mean, what a brutal, brutal loss for the Oklahoma Sooners. Because if they were on the right side of the bubble, they are off the right side of the bubble now. Like, there is no question. They moved to 3-9 in SEC play. They drop a home game to LSU, which, like we said, from a metric standpoint, LSU is not like a bottom-tier ACC team this year. But, I mean, man, that is a loss. We talk about losses you can't afford. Kentucky losing at Texas, that's not a loss you can't necessarily afford. But when you lose at home to LSU after having a, 13-point lead in the second half, that is not going to cut it.
When they were up by 5 with 35 seconds left, and it was 79-74, LSU had a 2.4% chance of winning the game. Cam Carter hits an and 1 3 and then gets a steal, bucket, stop game. And that's pretty much to end the season. I mean, it's not 100%, but that is just as gut-wrenching as it gets. Moser in the postgame said in the timeout right before that possession that Carter hit the 3 on, he said this is a no-jump possession. They do not care who has the ball, when they're shooting it, where they're shooting it. No-jump situation. Jalen Moore jumps, fouls Cam Carter, and maybe there goes your postseason with it. So just brutal.
Yeah, people are asking about Oklahoma's remaining schedule. I'll just read it off to you. I'm pretty sure they have either the second or third. In whatever order you want to put it in. I think Alabama's 1. Oklahoma or Vanderbilt's 2 and 3 in terms of remaining schedule. Oh boy, get ready for this. At Florida on Tuesday, and then they're home against Mississippi State, which we're going to talk about them in a second.
Yep.
Then they're home against Kentucky. They're at Ole Miss, home against Missouri, at Texas. Oklahoma will be the underdog, and Ken Palm has them as the favorite against Mississippi State. I would not make that the case at all. They are going to be the underdog in every remaining game they play. So, yeah. And again, they're 3-9. So now, with 6 games to go, they need at least 4 of those for wins, I think. At least. Probably 5, but they need at least 4. So.
Okay, so now the other conversation here is this team beat Arizona on a neutral, Louisville on a neutral, Providence on a neutral, who won by double digits against Villanova today, who just beat St. John's. Michigan on a neutral.
They're hanging in. You better root for them to win every game the rest of the way. All those teams. Which could happen, I suppose.
It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, they were 13-0. 13-0. Now they're, 16-9. So, I don't know. It's brutal. We said this league was going to get some people, and we knew it was going to happen. It's just Oklahoma's one of those teams. So, yeah. All right, we don't have a lot more to add there. We'll talk about Oklahoma, obviously, in the power rankings on Monday. But, yeah, that's a bad loss. Bad home loss for the Sooners. All right, now we'll get to, all right, optimistic rattlesnake. We'll let you in. You're calling us fools 5 minutes ago, but you know what? You can call us whatever you want if you're going to give us a super chat. $5 super chat. We talk about Florida here regularly. We didn't start with them because that's just not how it works sometimes. Florida's going to win the regular season SEC championship, SEC tournament championship, and the Final Four. Everything else is a waste of breath.
I love that. That's fantastic stuff.
You think optimistic rattlesnake is optimistic?
About the Gators?
I think it's a very optimistic rattlesnake, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Look, the Gators, we said it earlier, the Gators were the number 4 seed overall today, the last 1 seed.
Yep.
And Kentucky, of course, was in their mock bracket, that is. But, yeah, and then the Gators, what do? They just come out and just take it to South Carolina, which, like we said, they should have done that. But, Max, look, the big story coming in here was, I don't know why this SEC scoreboard's not working for me. It always works, and it's just really let me down here tonight. But Let me pull it up here. So, Max, we're going to do medal stand a little while.
Yeah.
Am I just going to have to just reserve a spot for Tommy Houck? Like, is he just going to have to be like someone that we have to always put him on there somewhere? Because our guy, Tommy H., does it again. 20 points, 6 rebounds, had 3 assists, 2 steals, a block. He does everything. But our other guy, again, these are part of our all-dude teams.
Yep.
We're like, those are our dudes right here. We adopted both of these dudes. Denzel Aberdeen and Tommy Houck at the SEC tournament last year. Aberdeen goes 22 here. He goes 5 of 7 from 3. Of course, they got Micah Henlogden back. He played 20 minutes in this game. So if anyone thought they were just bringing Henlogden back just to, put him out there for a minute or two, that was not the case. He had 2 points, 3 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals, 2 blocks. The guy did everything on night 1. The Gators. Just, by the way, score. I know everybody wanted to score 88-67 final in Gainesville.
And I was nervous about this game. And because I usually look to the Florida Basketball Hour for a lot of stuff for Florida. And they were nervous about this game. Knew it was tough the first time around. Now with the moving parts, working Martin back into the lineup, there was reason for a little bit of nerves. And Tommy Houck comes out right away, splashes like a rainbow 3, and I was just like, why did I even have any nerves? I mean, now we're going to get a potential, think about this, Blake. You're going to have a backcourt rotation, Walter Clayton, Elijah Martin, Will Richard, Denzel Aberdeen, front court rotation, Ruben Chinyelu, Tommy Houck, Alex Condon, Micah Henlogden.
This comment right here, I think, tells the story. When Florida's fully healthy, their bench is a tournament team.
Yes.
Just the guys on their bench would make up a tournament team. So, my goodness.
And they did it today with no offensive rebounding. They didn't lean on that at all.
No.
It was Elijah Martin's defense. It was Denzel Aberdeen's offense. It was a little bit of Tommy H. doing everything. This team is just peaking right now, and they're peaking while they're going through a roller coasters of injuries.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, they had 14 threes, 14 to 28. They had 24 assists on 32 made field goals. First half was kind of close, which I think sometimes you could sort of expect that. South Carolina matched up well with them last time. But you just knew Florida was going to eventually just kind of take over from there. But, look, the Gators, like you said, they're number 1 seed in the bracket revealed today. They absolutely are number 1 seed the way they're playing. So that's the thing. How do you even these SEC teams that are fighting for this number 1 seed? I think, and we talked about it today. You could even argue that yes, Auburn had the big win, but hey, Florida beat them. You could argue Florida's playing better than anyone in the country.
Yeah.
And it's just, I know Donovan's not going to agree with me on that, but it's not a surprise. So, but the Gators get a huge win. They are, as Christian says here, they're the second half team. They always seem to show up in those spots, and we've seen it time and time again with them. But all right, if we look at the upcoming schedule for Florida real quick.
Yep.
Somehow I've gotten my schedule back to 2014. I don't know if that's what we're looking for, but Florida's upcoming schedule, as you said, they get Oklahoma at home on Tuesday, at LSU, at Georgia. My goodness. Oh, we talked about this. That's right. I always get these schedules mixed up. I'd be stunned if the Gators aren't. What is that? Would make them 12-3. Oklahoma at home, at LSU, at Georgia. They should win all those games by double digits.
They're going to be the number 2 team in the country on Monday.
Yeah.
4 straight games now with double-digit threes. So you go to Tennessee, shoot 4 of 27, rough game. Come back. The offense is, 86, 90, 81, 88. Gators are rolling right now. Rolling.
Yeah.
I think I saw Zach say he's going to pick him to the Final Four. Yep. Zach, $5 super chat. Picking Florida to go to the Final Four. Sharpie him in. Doesn't want to see the matchups. Doesn't care. Doesn't need them. Florida's in.
Well,
I love it.
I like the thought. I like to see the matchups. But right now, they have the third best odds to win the national championship. So, Auburn, Duke, Florida. So, I hope you got that Florida national championship future in about 4 months ago, because it's paying off a lot more than it is right now for the Gators.
You know what the odds were? Because I almost did it.
What was it? It had to be.
They were 60-1 preseason.
Oh, man.
Yep, I almost did.
Somebody's got it out there. Somebody's got it. No doubt. Big Gator EJ's got it. I guarantee you. All right. Moving on. We'll get back to Florida when we get to the medal stand, I think. Sam bringing up Gus Fring. Anytime it's funny because I was on Twitter today and I went down a rabbit hole of Gus Fring and the actor, and like he was talking about all these things. Just had a crazy story. But then that got me back into like going down a rabbit hole of Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul and all this.
Yep.
Just kind of, I always do that with those two shows. But I'll tell you one thing, Max. We're talking about tournaments, getting in those future bets on who's going to win the whole thing. Well,
oh yeah.
Guess what? The brackets are near. Bracket bids. We keep telling you about them. A tremendous. Yes, Giancarlo Esposito. That's his name.
Yes.
Bracket bids. Giancarlo does not own bracket bids. But if he did, here's what he would tell you. I can't say it in his voice, but here's what he'd say. He'd say that you can get in on that free pick'em contest. You can also start an auction draft league with your friends, family, or coworkers. So if you worked at the chicken store with Gus Fring, you could perhaps get your coworkers involved. He had his coworkers involved in some other stuff, though. Wasn't related to bracket bids. But everyone starts with the same bidding dollars. It's up to you to outwit and outbid your league mates. To secure the teams you think go the distance, choose from multiple scoring models, including the upset bonuses to reward bold picks. Track your teams with live in-game scoring and watch the standings shift in real time. The further your teams advance, the higher you climb in the standings. That's how it works for league play. Use that promo code SC16 for 40% off. SC16, 40% off. Download the Bracket Bids app today or visit them at bracketbids.com. All right.
Here's something quick, Blake. It's just a cool little. It's just, I don't know if it's happened before, but I put a poll on my Twitter.
By the way, just quickly to clean that up, yes, it's Los Polos Hermanos, not the chicken store. I'm sorry. Come on, we're talking SEC basketball here. I can't remember the stuff off the top of my head. All right, continue.
I put out a post. Who would you vote for SEC Sixth Man of the Year if the season ended today? And I did that. I think it was on Wednesday or Thursday, and I did Pettiford, Holloway, Tommy H, and Grill. Pettiford won the voting pretty substantially. I said I would vote for Tommy H personally, but I got a few comments and it was like, well, what about Chaney? What about Chaney? I'm like, how am I supposed to have two Sixth Man of the Year from the same team? Well, now Florida with Tommy H and Denzel Aberdeen.
Man.
Like, who do you pick for the Sixth Man of the Year? Because they're both. You can have like multiple 6th, 7th Man of the Year awards in this league on the same team. The depth is just ridiculous.
Yeah, it is. I mean, that's kind of where they are right now. And yeah, my goodness, I think the Gators are something else at this point. All right, let's now, and again, we'll get to the fun stuff later. You guys know we try to touch on every game we haven't talked about. Let's go all the way back to, and then we'll get to Mississippi State and Ole Miss. Don't worry, we'll get there. Actually, let's just go ahead and do that now. Let's get to Mississippi State Ole Miss because I think we're going to spend more time on it than we will some of the games from earlier. Yeah. Max, Mississippi State, just when you think they're in trouble, what do? Well, they come back out and get a 10-point win on the road at Ole Miss. The sweep for Hail State this season in the regular season. Remember, it was like how different they've been playing since that first game these two played a month ago on January 18th, where Mississippi State won that game in overtime. And we talked about, I mean, they gave Ole Miss every chance to win that game. But now they go on the road after getting, handled at home by Florida on back-to-back home games. We said Florida and Missouri. But now they've won 3 straight road games, which is just a weird stat, but it's kind of interesting, right? They won at South Carolina in overtime. They won at Georgia by a point, and now they go win a 10-point game at Ole Miss. Mississippi State said, we've heard all the talk. We've heard these two guys not giving us a shot in this game. And they go on the road and score 81 points and beat an Ole Miss team that we were like, hey, we've never felt better about Ole Miss. And here we are.
It was the physicality that won this game. It was as simple as, well, I don't mean to dumb it down, but it was pretty much as simple as Mississippi State came out more aggressive, punched Ole Miss in the mouth, and Ole Miss never punched back. There we go, Eli. There we go. Eli has not been very optimistic, but this should give you some hope, Eli. This should give you some hope. You guys know I watch a ton of the pre and post game press conferences. I like to see what the coaches say. Chris Beard was one of my favorite teams at Tech. So I've watched a lot of Chris Beard over the years. It was one of the most disappointed press conferences I've ever seen Chris Beard do. And I probably watched hundreds. So what he did was he sent out all 5 starters to the press conference to start. I've never seen that ever. He sends all 5 of the starters out. Okay. And then when Beard comes on after the players, he opens up with this one line. He goes, hopefully you asked the players the questions that needed to be asked. And then one of the next lines was, I thought we were all softness today, and that's not easy for me to say as a coach. I mean, Beard was pretty much disgusted with his team's effort today. I haven't seen him that upset pretty much ever.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I mean, again, you think about it, right? Like, think about that kind of game. Where, again, we talked about the setup. You had a Mississippi State team that was a little desperate coming in. And, I mean, we mentioned, like, Ole Miss has just been playing some good basketball, even though we talked about kind of those close calls. And now that you think about it, we're like, those 2 close calls at LSU and at South Carolina. You know, we just thought that's just life on the road in the SEC, right? But now it's like you come back, lose a game like this, not take anything away from Mississippi State, but it is one. We're like, okay, are there some things now for Ole Miss moving forward that we look at and say, all right, maybe that's kind of a, kind of something we have to look at. But I think, again, to turn the focus back to Mississippi State, too.
Yes.
I mean, there were just, like we said, there were so many things with this team that were just making you sort of scratch your head a bit because you just didn't know, on a night in, night out basis. We talked about the 3-point shooting, right, for the opposing teams. And it's like, all right, well, Ole Miss, statistically, has been a pretty decent 3-point shooting team. Then tonight they come out and go 6 of 24, right? And so I think it's kind of one of those things where this was the kind of game that Mississippi State had to have. And we talked about it. Like, not that they were in danger of missing the tournament, but they had moved down to, I think it was an 8 seed in most of like the updated bracketologies heading into today. And so now to get a game like this on the road, all of a sudden you're moving back into that 7 for sure. And then, Max, they get the game of the year for you probably. Mississippi State, Texas A&M, the showdown in Starkville on Tuesday. So, yeah, like that was just such a huge win for them. And, again, I think it kind of speaks to sometimes when you try to, like, say, all right, not even try, but you kind of talk about where like a team is at in this landscape of the SEC, and you're trying to look at these games, and you're like, they may be in trouble. But you just see, like, a game like this where Mississippi State all of a sudden just comes out, plays really well, and gets a win they really needed. That's just, we keep saying, you can't really count out these teams because you just know that they got a shot based on how they've been playing. So, yeah.
Yeah, and they got this done with Murph being in foul trouble the whole time. He barely played. That was his lowest minute total since December 14th. That was the worst Murph game since December in 2 months. And they go out there and out physical Ole Miss. Sean Jones, by the way, we never talk about Sean Jones. because he doesn't do too much that shows up. Doesn't put up too many points. Doesn't really put up too many assists, but he is so steady, does so many little things for Mississippi State. And I feel like Mississippi State's just got a team of those guys. Just a team of those guys that do the little things. Melendez, Kugel, all that stuff. And so when they all chip in with the offense, very balanced effort, 5 guys in double-digit scoring here, that's when Mississippi State's at their best.
Yep. And I think if you look at now moving forward again for them, and we'll talk more about Mississippi State in the power rankings as usual. Like I said, they play Texas A&M on Tuesday. They go to Oklahoma next Saturday, at Alabama on the 25th, home against LSU, home against Texas, at Arkansas. So I think you're probably looking at Mississippi State feeling pretty good about themselves of getting to 9-9 probably in the league, which would be a really good spot, I think, for their NCAA tournament resume and all that. So, all right. Let's see what else we are going to get to here, Max. I'm gonna pull up.
Look at Dirty's telling us. Dirty's yelling at us through the chat. Put some respect on Sean Jones.
Yeah.
Sorry, but
we're
here to talk about Sean Jones. We're here.
Well, meanwhile, for Ole Miss too, by the way, looking at them moving forward, yeah, they got a little tricky schedule the rest of the way. At Vanderbilt. They get the week off at Vanderbilt next Saturday, at Auburn, home against Oklahoma, home against Tennessee, at Florida. So they get Auburn, Tennessee, Florida still to go, and they got to go to Vanderbilt. So don't love that for them. So,
yep.
Yeah. All right.
Where to next?
Let's quickly, and by the way, again, guys, you can leave your super chats, all that. I'm trying to... Max, I don't know what we've gotten to and what we haven't gotten to in the
I've been asked like 400 times in this who I picked. Guys, at the beginning of the Alabama and Auburn prediction video, Blake and I go, all right, do you know who you're picking? And we both go, nope, no idea. Okay, that was just, I just threw some out there.
Yeah, not a clue. All right, let's make sure I've gotten to these super chats. I don't remember if we've gotten to these or not. Did we get to this one? From Mother Carol, $5 super chat.
That's nice, Mother Carol.
Sorry, Mother Carol. Just because she loves us and the chat members, even when dealing with a loss, her team. The Cats come up short, but we always appreciate Mother Carol. But Nicholas saying he's got a basement full of water in the chat. Well, come on, we gotta get that handled. All right. Bruce Pearl is all the daddy you need. That's the username here, folks. $1.99 on the super chat.
Nice.
Enjoying the Bama and Kentucky things there. I don't remember if we got to those earlier. We might have, but I might have missed them. So we appreciate. Wow, Big Baller Brett. That's not a real nice super chat. $1.99 telling us that you're ready for Mark Sears to go. Come on, Big Baller Brett. What's going on here? So, Big Baller Brett.
You are still a top 10 team in the nation.
We got to check on Nicholas, too, by the way. As I said, these storms are, they're rolling through. So, all right. Let's see what else we got here. So, all right. Sorry, I'm trying to get caught up on some things here. Max, take us wherever we go next. What else we need to get to? Tennessee from earlier?
That one would take some years off if you're a Vols fan. My gosh. Panic mode at halftime there. What was it? 16? I think it was 16-point game at one point. Yeah. I mean, I texted you early in the game, and I was like, is Vandy going to do this again? Because they got the matchup for it. They got those guards. I was thinking during this game, if Tyler Tanner ends up sticking around in the SEC for a while, I'm going to pull back on those freshman year games where he had to go up 20-plus minutes head-to-head with Mr. Zeigler as what was Tanner, a 3-star freshman, I think he was? He wasn't more than that. And you got to go up head-to-head with what you do best. You kind of do play Ziegler's game with the steals, with the perimeter pressure defense. I know Tennessee won. We'll get to Tennessee a bunch. But man, I was I continue to be impressed with Vanderbilt. They took what I came away from this game with was Vanderbilt belongs. That's what I came away with.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's the thing with them, right? We've said it. I think the way that Vanderbilt plays, I do feel like even with the size stuff that everyone always brings up, like they always have a chance just because I think they're such a. And we've talked about kind of the discipline that they play with. Like they've clearly this roster is adapted to the playing style that Mark Byington wants. They are a team that forces turnovers. We talk about that defensively. And yeah, I mean you couldn't have asked for a better start, right? I mean you're up 16 or whatever, and yeah, but like I mean for on the Tennessee side of things, it's like this is one of those teams that like you see kind of just the sporadic nature of how these games play out. Um, and it's hard. Like I mean, it's hard to trust them sometimes. But I think the defense is something that is just it's. I mean, that's the thing, right? If they're going to win the national championship, and get to a Final Four and all this stuff, like it is just a matter of they're going to just lock some teams down defensively, and that's where I know. Like I said, we brought up the stat earlier about when Lanier scores. What is it? He scored 21 points. I think Rothstein had the stat. I can't find it now in all the tweets, but it's just a ridiculous number when he hits like 16 or more or whatever the number was. And I think too, I mean, Zeigler scores, like I said, all 22 of his points in the second half. And those are the guys, no matter what else we think about, Milicic needs to be more involved and all this other stuff. Like the guys that are going to win them the games in the NCAA tournament, when they find themselves in those tight possession games and, however the game plays out. I think you sort of look at it from that standpoint for Tennessee and know that those are still kind of the two guys that either you're going to make them go, or if there are teams that can shut down one or both of those, you've got a really good shot. And so, again, that kind of makes for these kind of games sometimes where Zeigler doesn't score in the first half, scores 22 in the second half. You just think about how drastic of a difference that is. And again, how do you properly just gauge what to say about Tennessee when you have stretches like that, So.
Yeah, Tennessee has really turned into a kind of a 6, maybe, and then the 7-man is like half of Cade Phillips and Dubar, whatever like little minutes they get. But this has gotten shrunk down to a strict 6-man rotation, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
Cade Phillips will have some games where he's working the matchup and he'll get in there, but after Gainey comes off the bench. I mean, look at the number. Geez, I didn't even realize this. The numbers in this past game. Gainey off the bench with 30 minutes. All right, the next highest off the bench, Phillips with 7. I mean, that's something that can come back to bite you. But it also, hey, if you can you find what works. You got the 6-man the tight rotation. Kind of reminds me of how Creighton has played the past few years. Creighton's had some really good teams where they barely go past 6. So it's doable. And if that's what works for Tennessee this year, then that's what works. It's certainly what got them back into the game, right? So Interested to see how they bounce back here because rock fight in College Station coming up.
Yeah. It's going to be a rock fight. I think we know that for sure. So, all right. Again, upcoming for these two teams, we talked about it. Vanderbilt has one of the toughest schedules left of anybody. And now they have lost 4 or 5. Even close losses are still kind of losses. But they're 5-7 in the SEC. Got to go to Kentucky on Wednesday, home against Ole Miss, at Texas A&M, home against Missouri, home against Arkansas, at Georgia. So it's a tough stretch the rest of the way. Like we said, we think they at least need 2 more wins in the regular season for Vanderbilt, and then beyond, SEC tournament matchups and all that. Meanwhile, for Tennessee, the Vols sitting here now at 21-5, 8-5 in the league, so pretty good spot. They're just kind of in that double bye race at this point in the SEC tournament. Go to A&M for the rock fight next Saturday at LSU, home against Alabama, at Ole Miss, and home against South Carolina to finish the season. So also not the worst finishing schedule for Tennessee, even though they've got some road games in there. Getting LSU and South Carolina, not bad to have on the remaining schedule. So, so that's where we are with the Vols. But, okay, we will continue on here and get to A&M Arkansas quickly. Max, your thoughts on the Aggies starting slow, but rallying, getting a win, 69-61 in College Station.
They just wear on you. Throughout the game. You could see it towards the end. They didn't. I think the offensive rebounds and the total rebounds, Arkansas was winning it for like the first 30 minutes of the game because I kept checking it because I knew that was a big storyline, and it was by a little bit too. And then A&M just over the last few possessions just started pouring it on. Wade Taylor hit some timely threes that kind of would Arkansas would get close, extend the lead out. It wasn't a Big Z game. Big Z was struggling with the kind of the weight of the guys like Farrell Payne, Henry Coleman, but player of the game was Andy Garcia. 11 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals. He was plus 27. Shout out to Cannon Torres for that stat at a College Station. Great stat there. But yeah, plus 27 for Andy Garcia. I don't love the game-to-game box scores because they can be pretty misleading. But if you watch the game, you know that's pretty accurate for what Andy was doing today.
Yeah, we said. I mean, the way A&M can win, and again, the way they play, we get it. Like, it's not always pretty. If you look at the scores of their last 3 games, right? 67-64, 69-53, 69-61. It's kind of where they are at this point. And those are the kind of games that I went to say that, Max, and I'm thinking, remember last year we'd say certain things. And then what happened? Like those final 4 or 5 games of the season, they're playing games in the 90s and the high 80s, and it's like, come on. They're not going to do that this year, right? Like this team's not going to do that. But yeah, I mean, I think it's, I don't know. So they're just going to win in the way that A&M wins. And I think that's kind of obvious at this point. You know, and I think, like we said, it's sort of a matter of if they can beat you at their game. We kind of talked about it earlier. It's like, you know, you felt like Alabama was the best at their game. Auburn's the best at their game. Like A&M has their style. Like they have the way they want to play. And if you try to play their game, they're going to beat you at it at least 9 times out of 10, right? And so, I mean, I think from the Arkansas standpoint here, you know, again, it's like, do I come out of this feeling any worse about where Arkansas's at and the way they've been playing? I don't think so. I mean, this was always going to be a tough road game. And again, they were not the favorite here. And so I still look at what Arkansas has done for the past 2 weeks now. Yeah, going back to that win at Kentucky. Sorry, Kentucky fans. And, you know, next they have to go to Auburn. But really, you know, beyond that, I think, as we've kept saying for a while now, like, their season's going to be defined by those final 5 games where they get home games against Missouri, Texas, Mississippi State, at South Carolina, at Vanderbilt. And now sitting at 4-8, you know, get 3 more, go win one in the SEC tournament, I think you're fine. So, yeah, I kind of just think that's where the Hogs are at. So I don't, like I said, a game like this, I don't really have a different opinion of either team. This kind of played out the way we would have expected between those two.
I really hope Billy Richmond stays another year.
Yeah,
I really hope. You're really starting to see him gain confidence. I mean, he's listed at 6'5". He plays like he's 6'7". He was battling for boards today in there. He got 10 more minutes than Brazil today. That should tell you something with what that staff thinks of how Billy's playing right now. I really, really hope he stays. And then one more thing. What was oh geez, I'm drawing a blank. But the committee's rank for A&M, it was somewhat surprising to me this morning, and I can't remember why it was. Where was A&M placed by the committee?
I'll find it here for you.
My fault on that.
Yeah, let me pull it up here real quick. So they are, oh boy, hold on. I got too many tweets. So they're 6th overall. Yeah.
6th. Okay, yeah.
So they're in the South with Auburn right now. Yeah.
This keeps them up there, right? This one?
Yeah. They're not moving down. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, because Purdue lost, right? So, and Purdue was the 7. So A&M was the 6. Purdue lost. They were the 7. So Wisconsin was the 11. So, I mean, I feel like Wisconsin probably moves up a bit. But, yeah, so, I mean, A&M, as we mentioned, they're I know some people look at it and they're like, wait a second, A&M, number 1 seed? But, like, they're they're not going away in that conversation until they start losing some games here. So
I don't think they'll get a 1, but
no, that's kind of
they're
where. Yeah, I mean
close.
that's kind of where we are. So yeah, I mean I think that's again kind of where we are at this point. So. Anyways, I don't have a lot more to add on this game. This was played feels like a century ago. Earlier, we've done so many streams and watched so many games today. We'll obviously talk more about A&M and Arkansas in the power rankings on Monday.
Well, this was a game where the spread was 8.5 and it ended at 9 or 8. I mean, it was quite literally exactly what was projected to happen.
Yep, pretty much. You're right. Is exactly how the game was going to play. So, all right. Let's see what else we've got here as we go the rest of the way. We touched on every game, as we said. If you haven't gotten our thoughts on Auburn, Alabama, that was from earlier. We talked about Missouri, Georgia. That was Missouri's 5th win by 13 or more points this season in the SEC. That's a great number to have there. Auburn 14 quad 1 wins now. So, yeah, I think that we have kind of, set things up here with all those games, and we will talk more about it here. Anything else, Max, we haven't gotten to as we go through? I think we've got everything else. I did want to bring up Daniel's comment here. And let's see what else we've got. So, all right. Let's see what we got here. So, what else? Sorry, Max. I think the rain is kind of... My computer's not really loading well.
Oh, you're starting to get hit. You're starting to get hit.
Yeah, I am. So I might have to let you take over here for 1 second while I try to reload a couple things here. Sorry.
Starting to think we may only get 10 teams into the big dance. What were you going to pull up? Because I can pull it up.
I was just going to talk about what Daniel was asking about. Thinking may only get 10 in, and talk about the math and how it works with what the number's probably going to be.
I think it's going to be 12. I think it's going to be 12.
So,
do you think it's going to be different than 12?
No, I think 12 is the number. But I think some people had unrealistic expectations of it being 14 or something, and that's just not the case. So, yeah. So I think that's kind of where we are. So
right now, Torvik has 12 bids getting a 44% chance. 13 is at 21%, and 11 bids is at 27%. So,
yeah.
11 or 13, maybe. 12, probably.
Yeah. I think that's... So, I mean, and what was it? Sam said, who are the 10 right now? I mean, again, let's just quickly go through this. Like, it's Auburn, Alabama, Texas A&M, Florida, Missouri, Tennessee. That's 6. Ole Miss is 7. Kentucky's 8. Mississippi State's 9. Vanderbilt, I think, would still be in right now. That's 10. I think Texas would be in right now. That's 11. And then, like we said, I honestly think it's probably a race to whether Arkansas gets in or not, because I've just said it. I have my confidence in Georgia and Oklahoma getting in is very, very low right now. So,
well, yeah. if we did like a 3-team neutral court tournament and it's those 3 teams, I'm taking Arkansas.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's kind of where we are. So, all right. I'm going to pull up an ad read here real quick.
And then we got to get to medal stand.
Yeah, we're going to get to that. Hold on 1 second. Okay, so let's quickly get to Sanders Logistics before we get anywhere else, so I don't forget. So I don't forget to talk about our friends, Sanders Logistics. All right. So, of course, Sanders Logistics, your friends and mine. We talk about these guys all the time. They're tremendous people.
All the time.
And, I mean, come on. They're probably out moving people right now, to be honest with you. That's how good they are. So, Sanders Logistics, as we always say, they are formerly known as Ted R. Sanders Moving, a leader among moving companies in Nashville, Tennessee, and the surrounding area. Their team of professional movers focused on delivering efficient, hassle-free moving at an affordable price. Whether you're moving across town or across the country, Sanders Logistics has you covered. Visit them at tedrsandersmoving.com. I would have given you a better read here, but like I said, my internet is just a complete mess right now. And it's got to be because of the the Storms. At least the stream is holding through, but like getting other things to open and other tabs is just it's a real challenge, Max Barr. So we do the best we can here.
We do.
That. All right. Okay, let's go to medal stand. What else you want to get to before we get there? Is that it?
I want to get to the medal stand. I want to go straight to the medal stand.
Medal stand time. All right, give me your 1, 2, 3 teams.
All right. We're going silver, Mississippi State. Oh, geez, silver. Bronze, Mississippi State. You can tell we've been going for, 5 hours now?
Yeah.
Bronze, Mississippi State. Needed a win, got to win. Complete the season sweep of Ole Miss. Big time stuff. Was in a desperate spot and needed it. Got it. Then I'm going silver. I am going Texas. Same exact reason, pretty much. Big time spot. Needed a huge win. Got it. And then gold. Come on. First ever number 1 versus number 2 in the history of the SEC. Got to go to Auburn.
All right. This is a tough one today, I think, because I think it's kind of, some of these are interesting. I'm going to go Missouri with this bronze.
Nice.
Because I think getting a double-digit road win at Georgia, a place where no one has had that kind of success this season in terms of the win like that, I will go there. I know people want us to throw LSU in here. It's just hard. I know it was a good win, but I can't put them above some of these other sort of defining wins for a few of these teams. So silver, I will go Mississippi State. Gold, Auburn. I know it leaves out Texas, which I didn't like to do, but I think the Missouri double-digit win at Georgia to me was very impressive. So, yeah.
Well, because that spread was 1 or 2 points. Texas was favored by 4, I think.
Georgia was favored in that game, right?
In the beginning they were, but it flipped eventually.
Oh, it did flip. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Texas didn't even cover, I don't think. I think it ended up at 4.5.
Yeah.
But anyways, there are a lot of players. There were some great individual performances today. There really was. But I'm going to have to narrow it down. There were a lot of double-doubles. There was a lot of high rebounding stuff, and I'm gonna steer away from the course I normally go to. You guys know I usually go into the bully ball stuff for this. We had some incredible stuff today. Going bronze, Cam Carter, probably one of the craziest sequences I've ever seen. Not ever seen, but this year, 100%. And 1 3 into a steal, into a basket to win the game. Oh my gosh. Incredible individual effort there. So Cam Carter with the bronze. With the silver, I think I got to go Trey Johnson for putting up a 30 bomb. Almost had a double-double. And then gold, see, here's the thing, because I'm going to leave out so many players.
I know. It's impossible.
Right. I'm breaking the rules.
Okay, that's fine.
I'm going double silver Zakai Zeigler for having an absolutely insane second half. And then gold, I'm going Denzel Aberdeen. That might be controversial, but maybe a little recency bias. Just watched the game before we hopped on. But you've got a guy that started the year on the bench, starting games now, heat checking. 5 threes. Just they're looking for him. Looking for Denzel, trying to get him the ball, hand in his face, doesn't care, going up, bang. Gold for Denzel Aberdeen.
Oh, man. I got to get my guy Tommy Houck on this list somewhere, but I think my list may surprise you a little bit because I really don't know how to. Because again, I've got to somehow get Tommy Houck, Zakai Zeigler. I got to get Trey Johnson, Cam Carter,
and Denver Jones. You got to get Denver Jones too.
Well, don't worry, I've got a spot for him. I'll go Cam Carter bronze just because we don't give LSU a lot of love on here. I mean, it's not necessarily our fault. I mean, they've struggled this season, but I'll give him that because that was a crazy sequence there. Man, how do I leave Zakai Zeigler off after scoring 22 points in the second half to rally his team from a deficit? But how do I keep Trey Johnson off for scoring 32 points? How do I keep Tommy Houck off for being Tommy H? Oh my goodness, man. This is tough. Who do I pick of that group? The double. Do I get the double silver too? Okay, Zakai Zeigler gets one of them. All right. Florida fans aren't going to like me if I keep Tommy H out of there. So, but Trey Johnson's got to be on there. All right, I'm breaking the rules again. I'm doing Tommy Houck and Cam Carter with the double bronze. I'm going Trey Johnson and Zakai Zeigler with the double silver. And I am going Denver Jones with the gold. Because Bruce Pearl said in the press conference after the game, people not talking enough about Denver Jones being one of the best defensive players in the country. I don't care what his numbers were elsewhere. His defense was the key to that game. Denver Jones gets the gold for me.
We've mentioned time to time how we're impressed with Denver Jones's defense in that time when we were at the SEC tournament, but we didn't do it enough.
No.
We didn't do it enough.
Big Gator EJ. Put some respect on Sir Thomas Houck. Exactly.
So there's Malik. There's Malik in our chat, and then there's Malik Florida fan on Twitter also. That's like Malik the 5'10" freak or something like that. Florida fans, you know who I'm talking about. I was talking to him in the DMs the other day, and he was saying he had a prediction of Tommy Ha playing the 3 next year, but maybe with Micah coming in, maybe we see a little bit of Tommy at the 3 this year. If Tommy really develops that shot, because he's already got it, he's got the 3-point shot, but if he really works on it a little bit more and develops into a 3, can you imagine Florida next year, how physically dominant they could be with Tommy H at the 3, then Condon, then Chinyelu, with Micah also? I'm getting ahead of myself.
Donovan, we cannot win with you, can we? I just gave Denver Jones the gold, and we don't give him enough flowers for his offense. Are you kidding me? Are you going to come onto our channel and tell us we don't give Denver Jones enough credit? Us. Are you? Come on, you're on the wrong channel or something. I don't know what you're talking about, but we're kidding with you, Donovan. But yes, I mean, talk about Florida, just my goodness, machines. So, by the way, Virginia double dribbled and Donovan. I don't know where your members only. Your membership may have ran out. That may be what happened.
Oh, darn it!
You might want to check on that. If you were gifted a membership, I don't know if you guys signed up, but if you did, you might want to check on that. Yeah, check on that. See if it. I'm not sure what happened there. All right, optimistic rattlesnake. Here we go again. $5 super chat. Have the snotty nose against the Gators for some reason. I don't like it. All right, Big Gator EJ, I'm gonna need you to step in here.
I like them.
T Whit for Gator. Come on, guys. Are you kidding me? We've been talking about Tommy Houck and Denzel Aberdeen longer than anybody not named Florida Basketball Hour for the past 8 months of our lives.
We love these. We love them.
Come on. Love this Gators team. We're optimistic, one would say, about the Gators. What do you think about that? So, see, I told you Virginia double dribbled. I told you that's what happened. You let the membership run out. You can't do that. Come on. We got big watch-alongs coming. So, for anyone else who wants to watch more watch-alongs, we got those coming for members. As
I know
usual,
I'm jumping all over the place, and we're probably wrapping up here, Blake. I'm sorry, but
it's okay.
I saw a clip of Pettiford. It was right after I think Alabama tied it up or something like that, and Pettiford comes down within like 2 seconds and just pull up, bang. Within like there's like 26 seconds on the shot clock, just right in someone's face. And then I'm watching Trey Johnson just go ballistic over the last 10 minutes. That I'm telling you, that one possession of Trey Johnson with like the triple offensive rebound, then and one with his offhand was incredible. But in a league this old, right? The point I'm trying to get at, a league this old where we've got teams right in top 5 in the nation in average age, as in terms of college years played, it's the freshmen that keep stepping up and taking over games, winning games for their teams. Just goes to show, yeah, you want to get old, stay old. Yeah, it's the age of the portal era, but special talent is special talent.
No. Yeah, like you said, Mr. Big Shot. He's taking over Talon Cooper's reign. As Tahaad Pettiford. He's Mr. Big Shot this season.
Took all year.
So, yep. All right. Shout outs to what do you know? optimistic rattlesnake, is now a member. We lure you in. I know you're
Love
just
it.
playing around. We appreciate you. Yes, obviously more Gators talk coming here. We'll see where the Gators are ranked in our power rankings on Monday.
They're moving up in mine.
Interesting. Well, you heard it here first. Max Barr's moving them up. So no suspense needed. But yeah, we got some big games coming up next week. I know Kyle mentioned, that Alabama Missouri game is going to be fun next Wednesday. That's a fun one.
What's the projection on that? 1 point game?
Probably so. Yeah. By the way, James brought this up earlier too, and I've mentioned this, and I've kind of argued the other way in this. 999, we appreciate the support, James. Depth being important is a massive hoax in college basketball. Most championship teams only truly play 7 to 8 guys consistently, usually being 7. And I think that was one of the things I brought up. Like, that is true. I just think sometimes when you do have some of these teams, though, that have battled the injuries the way we've seen some of these teams have, it's like that's where, man, it's it's kind of nice to be sitting here with some of these teams that have those numbers and have not maybe had the injuries yet, and you're looking at it and saying, my goodness, like, how do you match up against teams like that? We said, like, Florida's fully healthy, and Missouri's fully healthy, and all these teams we always talk about. But yeah, like you kind of know what your 7 to 8 rotation is going into it, but I think we just kind of talk about it too. And remember something else we always bring up with this depth thing, especially for the SEC teams in the NCAA tournament, how games are called, like how games are officiated. Unfortunately, I think sometimes games in the NCAA tournament are officiated much differently than we see in the SEC on a night in and night out basis, and I think that makes it difficult for some teams to adjust. So I don't know, but
Well, I think it's a good point. Like, having the depth for the regular season, huge plus. But in a tournament setting, you want to have your 6 or 7 that you can lock in, and say like and the thing is about Missouri and some of the other teams that are real deep, like Alabama and Auburn, and I mean, kind of there's a lot of teams in the SEC that can go pretty deep. When you're down by 5, you can tighten up and go to your 5. And go to your 6 guys. And I think these teams have that.
Yeah. All right, Donovan, your membership ran out. We didn't get it. We didn't take it away from you for spamming the chat. Donovan, we kind of know, like,
It was a big day for you, Donovan.
It was a big day for you. We give you a little bit of a leeway. But yeah. So, Bill says he's heartbroken. He needs an ad read for bed. Bill, I've already read them both. So if you want us to have more ad reads, here's the deal. Help us find more sponsors. Any of you guys out there, if you want to find more sponsors, we're always looking for more sponsors, especially as we head into March. Come on, biggest month of the year for us probably. Sign us some sponsors. Yeah, we're always up for more ad reads. You guys know I could sit here for an hour and a half and just read ads, but I'm not going to do that. So, yeah, that's how it works. But all right, a couple more here on the way out. Super chats. Big Gator EJ 199. Forgot about the 7-9.
Oh, Canada. Oh, my gosh. Can we get a whole lineup of 7-footers?
Yeah. That'd be something, wouldn't it? There's a team eventually that's going to do that. The evolution of basketball. We're going to get, like, point guards that will be 7 feet one day. All that. So, all right, Virginia double dribbled. Now back to being a member. So we can actually talk good about them now. Who makes a deeper run, Tennessee or A&M? Oh my!
I think those depend on matchups. Those are 2 very matchup-heavy teams.
I'm still picking Tennessee. I trust them more than A&M.
Right,
A&M's percentages. The first thing I texted you today about that A&M game, I said, A&M just came out and bricked 3 straight threes to start the game. I said they got them right where they want them. Like, of course. Like,
what was my response?
I don't even remember what you. I don't remember what you said, but it was.
Why
great.
would you expect anything else?
Right? Why would I expect anything else? Just brick 3 threes right off the bat.
Love it.
Yeah, tremendous stuff. So, all right, we're out of here, guys. We had fun here. Prime time.
What a day!
As always.
What a day.
Again, I know we didn't talk a lot about Alabama Auburn. We did that for an hour today, and all the other fun stuff. So check that out. We talked about the other games, Missouri as well. We went in depth on that one, but we appreciate you watching as always. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Hit the like button. Join the membership tier. More watch-alongs coming. Big games coming up next week. Power rankings coming up on Monday. So, yeah, we greatly appreciate you guys. Yeah, Chris doing baseball stuff. Yeah, a lot of stuff. Chase doing football stuff. So, lots of stuff, of course, as always, on the channel. So, hit that subscribe button. Do us a favor. Hit the like button on the way out. And, yeah, lots of fun stuff on the way. Power rankings on Monday. Where will we rank these teams? I think it's becoming a little bit more clear of the order of these teams. But we'll talk about it on Monday. All right, guys. Appreciate you watching. As always, talk to you soon.
Awesome stuff.
Southeastern 16.
Nice.